This is continuing the story of how my ex killed me. Continue watching for more. I was starting to hate myself a lot because Randy would make me feel really special and loved one moment, but then would make me feel hated and like I'm doing everything wrong another moment. I just felt like I wasn't good enough as a human being. I was self-harming a lot. When I went to Canton, I was not eating like at all. And I'm sure, as you can imagine, it started to get really, really bad. I didn't feel like I was worth anything. I didn't feel like I was worth living. Though there were a few times that he saved me from suicide, he was the one who ultimately pushed me to get that way. I was extremely vulnerable and easy to manipulate. I saw his angry side a lot, and truthfully, I never did anything wrong to deserve that. I pretty much gave him anything and everything he could possibly want. I was super good to him. I did not lie. I never instigated arguments. I usually was trying to put out an argument rather than starting one. Literally the only thing that I never did for him was go be homeless with him, which is pretty much all he wanted. He wanted my money, but he didn't. He wanted all the stuff that I gave him, but he didn't. Really, he just wanted me. He made me feel like shit about it a lot because I didn't want to do that for him. Honestly, I really don't mind being homeless, and I don't mind like going out on the road, but like I would never do that for another person, let alone for that person. Someone who treats me like shit for not wanting to do something like that. Sorry, I look different. So I don't know if I talked about this before, but I had got with Jerry when I was about 15 years old. And around that time, Randy and I were really close friends. He was also friends with Jerry at the time. Jerry was 19 years old, and since we got together when I was 15 and he was 19, Randy liked to call him a pedophile. Well, this pedophile also happens to have a dad who is a cop. And Randy also hates cops. He always made this such a big deal. Since it was such a big deal, he called Jerry a pedophile all the time. He always said like,
why don't you just leave? You always talk about how much you hate it there. You always talk about how much you need to get out there and find a new place to live. So why don't you just get up and leave and just come be homeless with me? Like, why is it so hard for you? You're living with a pedophile and a pig.
He always made it very apparent that I live with a pedophile and a pig and that I need to get out of here and I just need to leave. It shouldn't be that hard for me to just pack my things, get up and leave and go be with him. Anyway, resuming my last video. When I got home, things were very different around here. Jerry obviously knew that things were very different with me because of what happened to me when I was in Orville. I kind of changed a lot, and I was not telling anybody anything that happened. I was being extremely vague, but I was acting like everything was great. By this point, since Randy was homeless again, he was trying desperately to find another place to stay. He decided to go stay with his friend Matt. Matt gave me permission to use his name and to use his story because his story correlates with mine. Mind you, during this time, I am constantly giving Randy everything that he needs. He needs money, I got it. He needs a ride from a cab, I got it. If he needs anything, I pretty much will find a way to acquire it for him. Everything that I did, I basically did it for him. And the money that I was making, I basically said, what is mine is yours. I can give you anything that you possibly need, just ask me. It's fine, it's no big deal. Always said, like, I hate taking from you, but then would take from me anyway, and then would go ahead and say that I'm not doing shit for him, that I just sit on my lazy ass and don't do anything. Well, anyway, he finally made it to Matt's house after desperately trying to find a ride, and there was no way that I could get him a ride at that time, so of course he made me feel bad about it. Now, I don't know if what Matt said was 100% true, but I did talk to Matt a little bit, and he seemed to be a little bit more well put together than Randy was, so I kind of believe his story over Randy's. Matt has, I think, 2 kids, and he has his own place, just him living there. His girlfriend or ex-girlfriend or whatever has the kids. She has custody of the kids. So the kids can come over on the weekends sometimes. Matt is a heroin distributor, but he would never leave heroin needles or anything just laying around because his kids come over. So he would never just do that, and that's what he said. Well, during the time that Randy was here at Matt's, he didn't have Wi-Fi. The only time that I was able to talk to Randy was on the phone with Matt's phone. So since he had to talk verbally over the phone, he would never just openly say, I'm surrounded by heroin needles. He was kind of very vague with it and didn't really tell me much. Matt told me that he needed about $200 to $250 to pay his rent. Rent was due on Tuesday, it was Sunday, and he had no money. I said,
That's fine, I can give you the money. I just got paid. It'll be the last of my money, but I'm willing to give Randy the last of my money because I want him to have a place to stay. So I will give you the money. Just pay it back to me.
He said, okay, no biggie. I'll pay you back on Tuesday. I think Randy dipped out or something and got a hold of Wi-Fi and said, hey, I need you to not send that money. And I was getting up and getting ready and about to send the money. He's like, honestly, I have been surrounded by heroin needles. He's using it. He's not just selling it. And I don't want to be surrounded by this because Randy was addicted to meth before I got with him, and he quit the drugs and was trying to get away from it. So he didn't want to be around it, so that's why he dipped out. But what Matt had told me was,
No, I don't do heroin. I would tell you if I did heroin. I only sell it. And no, I don't leave it laying around my house because the kids will be here. The money that you've been sending Randy, he has been using for meth. And now he's asking you for $200.
and I was like, oh my god, okay. Well, I didn't know that at the time. I ended up sending the $200 through Western Union. I told Randy to send me $150 back. And what he should have done, since it's Western Union, I don't know if you know how it works, but when you go up there to receive the money, you can also, holy shit, you can also send it right back. So I said, you're gonna receive $200, but I want you to immediately send the money back. Because I think I accidentally sent the money anyway. I don't remember how it all happened. I think I sent him the order number for the money, and then later found out that I should not have done that, that I made a huge mistake. I trusted him to send me the money back. He was pretty trustworthy at the time from what I thought. His excuse for not sending me the money back right away was that he was about to come see me soon, and he was gonna surprise me with his face and the cash. And I was like,
Alright, I believe you.
dumbass me, you know? This is one of the most ridiculous things that happened. After he dipped out from Matt's, I gave him the order number, and he was like, okay, I'm gonna go pick it up now, and then I'll send it back. I'll get a hold of you in a little bit. On Facebook, it's 1 hour, okay, no big deal. 2 hours later, 5 hours later, 10 hours later, 14 hours later, a day later, he's still not on Facebook, and I'm like, oh my god, this motherfucker just stole $200 from me. I'm about to rip some fucking faces off. Well, I was completely broke. I had $1 left in my account. I'm not joking. I gave him the last of my money. I was expecting it back, but I don't know why I would bother trusting anybody. Since I had $1 left in my account, I obviously couldn't do anything, and I had to pay bills and shit, so I ended up having to sell my games and stuff. While I was at the game store, I get a phone call from some random number. I wasn't gonna answer it. Well, I picked it up, and it's like, you are getting a collect call from...
Love you. Sorry.
I was so fucking pissed. I was like, oh my god, this motherfucker is in jail. He just stole $200 from me and then gets locked up. This is not happening. So of course I answer the phone. I'm like, oh my god, what's going on? I haven't heard from you in an entire day. Are you okay? Are you in jail? What happened? And it's just silence for an entire minute. Mind you, I had to pay for this call. It was a collect call. I was like, are you in jail? He's like, no, not in jail. It's like, okay, well, where are you? He says, I'm at a bus station. Calling from a payphone. A payphone. Okay, so if you don't have a phone and you can't call from your phone, would you expect somebody to go to a payphone and pay for the call? Or would you want to go to a gas station where it's free? So I was like, oh, okay, I only have $1 left on my account. He's like, whatever the fuck, you only care about money, blah, blah, blah. He gets pissed off at me, says I love you, and hangs up. Because I didn't say it back. I don't know. I don't know why he hung up, but it was this huge, dramatic ordeal. He doesn't get a hold of me for an entire day, steals my money, and then hangs up on me, and makes a big deal about me not saying I love you back because Jerry's right behind me and I can't do that. Oh my god, it's so stupid. I ended up finding out that he stole my money, that $200 for meth. But he's like,
Yeah, I bought a pair of shoes, I bought some coffee, I bought some weed.
you bought a pair of shoes? You're homeless and you bought a pair of shoes? You can go to the thrift store. You don't have to spend $100 on a pair of shoes. Oh yeah, and he told me that he lost 100 of my dollars. What a fucking liar, dude. I believed everything he said too. I was like, yeah, I totally get it. It's cool. Shit happens. It's alright. And I was not judgmental. I was not an asshole. I just said, you know, it's cool. Shit happens. It's okay. Stop feeling bad about it. It's alright. Let's move on. He said that he didn't talk to me for that entire day because he felt so bad about losing my money and spending the rest of it. He was like,
I was gonna give you the money back and I was gonna surprise you.
some of the things that he says is pretty ridiculous. But anyway, I don't really remember exactly what happened after that. I know like a lot of bullshit went down. He was getting a ride back from Orville or Canton or wherever it was, and he was going to Columbus. At this point, I was kind of starting to get fed up with his antics. He stole from me, he's lied to me several times, and I just keep sending him money over and over again. Every time he asked, I'm like,
Yeah, I got you, no big deal.
at this point, I was just so done with him, and he said he was coming to Columbus, and I was like, no, don't do that. Ultimately, it came down to the fact that I would not go be homeless with him. Like, I just want to make that clear. He was acting so irrational and ridiculous because I wouldn't go be homeless with him. And I wouldn't do more for him when I was kind of doing a fucking fuck ton for this guy. I gave up a lot of myself for this person and even destroyed a lot of who I am for this person. On my Facebook, it says where I work, so, you know, it was pretty easy for him to find out where I work. He called me and said, I am out back. I was like, oh my god, no. My heart stopped. For about 4 days, he was hanging around my bar. I like to call this stalking because that's how it felt. He was unwanted there, and I kind of made that clear, like not in so many words, but with my vibes, my actions, and just the way that I acted towards him. Like, I was honestly really afraid to speak my mind because I didn't know how he was going to respond. There was a couple times outside of my work where he would be screaming at me at the top of his lungs. And there was one time, like, he actually threw his shirt at me and I thought he was going to hit me. He got angry with me for that too because I thought he was going to hit me, and he's like, do you really think I'm that threatening? Do you really think I would do that to you? He made this little shanty outside of my bar. He made it out of trash. Was sleeping there and like waited for me to come into work and would always beg me to come in early or stay late. And, you know, I didn't really want to do that because I didn't want to spend time with him, and like he kind of suspected that. But like would get really upset with me because he's out there sleeping in the cold outside of my bar, and I go home every night and go sleep in my cozy bed. Periodically I would come back and give him a couple shirts that I found in the lost and found. I would give him spare cigarettes that I got from people, give him food and water like a dog. Just felt like a homeless dog was hanging around my work, but one that was not wanted. Well, a couple people called the police on him and said that he had drugs on him just to get him off the premises. And when the cops looked him up, he came out clean, so he was fine. They let him go. He just kept hanging around my bar and said, fuck these people. If they want to call the cops on me, that's fine. I'm not doing anything wrong. It's like, the manager at my bar finally asked me what's going on. Why is this guy hanging around our bar? And I was like,
It's okay, he's harmless, he's just homeless. I'll tell him to leave if you want, but he's not hurting anybody.
in denial, like I always was. So the manager's like, alright, this is weird, but alright. The people at my bar were extremely concerned because they knew that something wasn't right about this guy. They're like my bar family, and it's really cool. But they were really worried about me and just wanted to make sure that I was okay. Eventually I was able to get him to leave, but it took a lot to get him to leave, honestly. Like, he was just so fuck the system, fuck everything, fuck everybody kind of thing. When he finally left, that's when things started to change a little for me. I started to get really scared because this is when he started to feel the most alone. He finally was able to see me, and I made it clear that I didn't really want to be around him, so he felt really alone and unwanted. He was back in Columbus and homeless, and started to get extremely overwhelmed. At this point, he kept saying, you know what, fuck it. I am at the bottom. I have reached the bottom. I don't give a fuck anymore. I'm gonna come to your fucking house, I'm gonna break in your fucking room, and I'm gonna come sleep in your bed and own it. Like I should own it, because I deserve a home. I deserve a bed. You get a bed, you get a TV, you get a roof over your fucking head, well, so do I. What's yours is mine, right? And that's how he would act. And there were plenty of times that he threatened to slit Jerry's throat and slit his dad's throat and take over this home as if it were his. That was extremely terrifying for me because he had my home address and he had my work address, and he also threatened to make a big scene at my work too. Almost felt as if he were blackmailing me to stay with him. He made it clear several times that I could leave whenever I wanted, but he also made it very clear that no, I could not leave whenever I wanted. There was a specific message, and I think I might be able to find it and incorporate it here. I said, if I want to leave, why don't you just let me leave?
Why should I leave your life in one piece while mine is in ruins?
That's how he looked at life. Like, if you're gonna destroy my life, why should I leave yours in one piece? But I don't know. There were a lot of things that he could hold against me, and I felt as though I had to be stuck in this relationship. Around this time, I finally grew the courage to tell somebody about it. At first, I told somebody at my bar, and I was like, hey, you know that guy just hanging around? Well, if you see him again, do call the cops, because now I'm starting to get afraid. It's like, it's alright, girl, I got you. It's cool. I was like, alright, well, I'm gonna spread the word then. And I went around and I told everybody at the bar if they see him again, to call the police. This is where he was starting to really flip a lid. He was threatening his life, and he said, if you don't fucking come see me, you're not gonna see me before I kill myself, all this shit. And was making me feel like it was my fault that he was gonna kill himself. Just all of this extravagant bullshit. One day, I woke up and I was finally ready to just let it end. And I don't mean the relationship, I mean my life. I was ready to just cut off my life because I felt as though I was never gonna get out of this. I even explained it in my video that said explaining my self-harm relapse. There were quite a few days when I wanted to shoot myself. I would walk back in the woods and basically prepare for it. Prepare for killing myself. Well, one day I was just really done, and I was thinking that there's no way out of this and I will always be trapped in this. I walked back in the woods with a camera and my notebook, and I begun writing my suicide letter. I had my camera because I was going to record my last thoughts before I actually did it. I think I was just like really done, but I didn't do it. Well, that night I decided to call my best friend, and I poured everything out to her. I went and saw her, and I told her every single thing that happened to me in detail. Ultimately, she was the one who helped me get through all of this. Had I not gone to her, I don't think I would be here today, because she is basically what turned all of this around for me, and I probably wouldn't have stood up for myself to him had she not been the one to tell me to do so. Because I wasn't ready for it to be over, because I was so scared. Eventually, I just started to make it clear to Randy that I was done. I couldn't handle the way he was treating me anymore. He was kind of back and forth with his responses. At first, he was like, yeah, I understand. I'm such a piece of shit of a human being. I wreck every relationship I've ever been in. I'm just gonna kill myself. All this sad shit. And then he would get really angry with me. And then he'd get sad again. And then he'd get angry again. Threatened to basically ruin my life. Made crude comments to people on my Instagram, which I had to go and delete. And he threatened to put all of our pictures up. He threatened to go into my work and make me lose my job. He was out to destroy my life, basically, which he had already done, but he was out to do so much worse. I really don't know what stopped him from doing that. I guess he just kind of came to his senses and realized that he was wrong. I don't know, but he didn't do anything, and I'm really grateful for that. He ended up hating me and blocked me on Facebook. So I was like, alright, this is cool. I was starting to get really angry with the way that he treated me, because I was remembering the way that he had talked to me and the things that he had done to me. And I decided to get a hold of his ex-girlfriend, who he had cut off. She basically said that he did the exact same thing to her, except it was a year-long relationship. Good lord, I could not imagine what it would have been like if this were a year-long endeavor. At least it was only about 5 or 6 months for me. He basically put her through the same thing. And it breaks my heart because me and his ex are actually kind of a lot alike, and I saw myself in her a lot. And just some of the things that she said that he did to her was crazy because he did the same thing to me. But she's doing a lot better now, and I'm so happy to see her recovering. After reading what she had to say about him, it really opened my eyes to see that he's not just like this with me, he's like this with every girl he's ever met. That means he's gonna do it to so many other girls, and, you know, God knows who he's gonna ruin next, or whose life he's going to end next. He has the capability to end lives. He is a really terrible person and can make you feel all kinds of things. He's very manipulative and can make you feel like the greatest person in the world, and then he'll make you feel like the nastiest scum the next moment, and that is a really incredible power to have for someone like him. I sent him a picture of his newborn baby, who he wasn't able to see, and I basically told him to go fuck himself, so yeah. The next day, I get a random phone call. I say, hello, and he said, you picked the wrong motherfucker to play games with, or something like that. I hang up on him, because I didn't want to hear his angry voice. So he calls me back again, from the same number, and I ignore the call, and I get a voicemail. I will insert the voicemail here. And shortly after I receive that voicemail, we start texting back and forth from the same phone number, and I will include those texts here as well. That was pretty much it. There's probably a lot more details that I'm forgetting, but I'll probably include the details in another video, probably with conversations that we had, if I can get the damn thing to work. I'm glad I got all that out there, and I just want you to know that I am doing a lot better now. It has been a couple months since all of this happened, and the last time that we talked was on Instagram, but not really much happened there. He was mostly really apologetic, and I was like, it's not okay. I'm really concerned he's gonna see these videos, but I'm trying not to worry much about it. My battery is dying, so I'm gonna go now. Thank you so much for listening to my story. It really means a lot to me that I can get this out there confidently, and hopefully I can forget about it all one day and recover from it all. I hope you all have a great day. I love you guys. Bye!
Really? So you think befriending my ex is going to end nicely for you, Mickey? Okay, I got something for you, and I got something for Jerry, too, and I got something for you. So fucking try it. Bring it. 'Cause you just fucking pressed the wrong fucking button.
Fuck you, Randy.